Ed, could you give us a run through of the culture and comms policy, what it's about, and suggestion on where to go to implement it?
Yeah, sure. This is probably the most important. And I just want to start by saying a policy and all sorts of policies, obviously, whenever you have an upset in an organization, 99 out of 100 times, there's probably no rule or policy that is established. So when you leave a vacuum, it gets filled with the wrong things. So as soon as you create a policy or a rule, then it fills that vacuum with the right things. And the way that I work is an upset is a problem, create a policy, you educate everyone on the policy, and then calm comes back into your organization. So over time, the more policies that you develop, the more people are educated on the policies, the calmer your organization is. So I'll just say that as a background to what I'm going to say about the communication policy. And the communication policy is probably the single most important. Just to give you an example, in our policy in Chananela, when the staff member starts with me, I send him or her our policy on communication. It says, something like this. It says, if you get an email or a phone call, our policy is to return an email or phone call on the same day. And if you can't respond in the same day, at the very latest, the next morning. If you can't do that, then you get somebody else to respond to the person who sent that email or phone call to you. The reason is that most problems occur because of miscommunication or non-communication. You can eliminate pretty much 90% of your problems by over-communicating rather than under-communicating, and we tend to under-communicate and not over-communicate, only because we're so focused on ourselves and not the people around us. And you can get the culture in the organization, and I created that culture by having this policy have to sign off on it. And it goes on to say that you don't respond in these time periods, then you'll get a warning and then you'll get the sack. And I'm really, really strict on this because we've got 160 staff, and if they have a really poor response policy, then your job is really, really hard. You imagine 160 people not responding, and then you've got to go around and, police and, big stick and so forth. But if they all respond on the same day, how easy is your life? And then you can scale so much easier. And, often people can't scale because of a whole lot of things, but if your staff aren't responding, then it has a domino effect. And I'll talk about this about, the body language and the message you're saying to someone when you don't respond quickly. The body language is that you don't care about them. You've got other better things to do. You've got other priorities in your life. They're really low on your priority list. It sends out all the wrong messages. And the single most important thing I keep saying to everybody is that, the way that I grew my business, and one single thing was responding very, very quickly. And I did nothing else. I wasn't a rocket scientist. I wasn't anything like that. I just responded very, very quickly. And you guys have dealt with me now, and you get really quick responses from me. And that's just in the culture of our organization. I can do that instinctively, but it's just getting the rest of the crew, the rest of the team doing it. That's the challenge.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that it's somewhat difficult to put in words as well. So one of the things we have done is we've documented that policy for you, which we put in the vault under step 16.6, and it's actually the policy that you've used in the past. We use it ourselves. Jamie, you've used it as well. So it's been tried and tested. Is there any comments you wanted to add to that, Jamie, before we wrap up?
Sometimes you might get pushback that, I'm too busy to respond quickly. You've got to know how to answer those questions. And part of that process is identifying the fundamental problems in your team or the teams that you might have. And, part of, what Ed always says and what we teach is to get that traffic flow right. And that takes time, because when people say, I'm too busy to respond, I didn't get back to you in 3 days, that's normal, because an underlying, it's a symptom to a greater problem that the partner or senior client managers taking all the production traffic or taking all the communication traffic from the clients, and there's only 480 minutes in a day. So yeah, they're going to have a build up of 150 to 200 emails. And I've had people tell me that they've got 200 emails in their inbox or 50 emails in their inbox, right?
Most of those emails, over 80% of those emails didn't have to go to them.
That's right.
Could have gone to someone
else. Yeah, that's right. So when you see those symptoms, and if you've got those symptoms yourself, it's a trigger to say, hang on, I've got to start putting in some Wize teams and systems and policies and procedures. And it's just a symptom to a bigger problem that we're all here to help solve.
Great point as well, in that everything that we talk about and the way in which we've structured the Bolt and the process in which we go through, everything's interconnected. You can't have a robust and highly integrated culture and communication policy if we haven't got our team structure and our traffic flow right, because they're going to work against each other. So everything kind of works in unison and flows together. So I think that's a really good point to touch on, and a great one to finish on. Any parting comments from you guys? Ed, start with you.
Yeah, it's not easy. Don't think leadership is easy. It is hard, and you've got to work harder on yourself than on the other person. And if you take that attitude, then you will progress your career in that leadership area.
Excellent. Jamie?
Yeah, the only other comment I'd make is, as you go on this leadership journey, is situations will arise where, you'll get an email or some situation might occur where you think it needs an instant response. My advice is, don't do an instant response. Sit on the issue or the problem, have a think about it for, sleep on it. If it's not a problem or issue that has to be solved like instantly, Ed's always said to me, how many times, Ed, you said, I'll sleep on that. You'll calm down, you might be worked up. I know in my case. And then the next day, I'd say, you know what, this is the way to approach this. This is the way to work to a solution towards this issue. But I think it's habit 1 in Dr. Stephen Covey's book is, I can't remember it, but it's be proactive, I think. But it's almost, he always says, create a space between the stimulus and the response. And I think good leaders, 90% of things you don't need to make an instant decision. My probably fault over the years was always, I think Ed used to say, Jamie's always actually, I'll just do it. But nah, you're better off sleeping on it and then finding the best approach and how to go about it. And your leadership will be so much better and calm, and, the methodology in your leadership will be better and more consistent. Absolutely. And calm.
Thank you for sharing. Guys, thank you very much for sharing today. For everyone listening, leadership is such a broad topic, and we completely understand that. So it's often hard to understand either what to focus on first or what it actually means to develop those skills out. So which is why we wanted to really touch on these couple of policies today, which will really, I think, point you in the right direction and help you start to really build a robust leadership culture within the firm. Guys, thank you very much